You're watching Cable 2.
Thank you. Good evening again. I'm Shay Woodbury, Chair of the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County Board of Education. I want to thank you for your patience while the board returned from our closed session. The next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. If we can please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Please grant our board peace of mind as we make many difficult decisions tonight. We pray for our students, our staff, our parents, and our teachers, and also our superintendent during these trying times. Let each of us know we are not alone. Help us, please help us make the best decisions for our kids. Amen.
Thank you. Before we get to the next item on our agenda, I would like to take privilege of the chair to recognize Hispanic Heritage Month. National Hispanic Heritage Month is recognized from September the 15th to October 15th in the United States. The month is meant to recognize and celebrate the contributions and influence of Hispanic Americans to the history, culture, and achievements of the United States. Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools has historically taken part in Hispanic heritage events throughout our community. The district wants to pay tribute and honor the generations of Hispanic Americans who have positively influenced and enriched our nation, our society, and our community. As of August 19th, roughly 30% or 15,298 of our students are Hispanic. While this year's celebrations will look different because of COVID-19, we do have schools like Hall Woodward Elementary that are using Flex Fridays to incorporate the celebration of different notable Hispanic Americans. Glenn High School is celebrating by playing different notable music selections as students connect to class. Teachers there are also incorporating virtual tours around notable Hispanic cities and countries. As chair and on behalf of the Board of Education, we too would like to highlight Hispanic Heritage Month and say thank you to the many Hispanic American employees in our district. We celebrate the thousands of Hispanic families that are part of our district family. In honor of the month, we now have a video from Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools Cable 2. It includes scenes from some celebrations in years past and thoughts from one of our English as a second language professionals at North Forsyth High School as she reflects on what this month means to her and others. Mr. Sherrill, if you could share the video.
You're watching Cable 2.
Hispanic heritage just really means looking at myself, where I come from, as well as my community. I have so many friends that are Hispanic, but all of them come from different countries. Not just different countries, different heritages. And it's really important to look at ourselves as Hispanics and where we've been and where we are now, so why not celebrate? So many Latinos have contributed to society, to our communities, and even here in Winston-Salem, thinking about a population growth of the Hispanic community. I think it's important to really celebrate in order to understand. identify with our roots is really by celebrating where we come from. So you'll see parties, you'll see get-togethers, you'll see people coming together, sharing food, sharing music, sharing, again, dance, right? Because that is part of it, of celebrating and bringing joy into our everyday experience.
Thank you. That was awesome. I appreciate you all sharing that from the staff. Our next item on the agenda is the agenda review. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Second.
So if there are no further questions or discussion about the agenda, we're going to raise our hand for those of us who are here, and then Dr. Harrison will call the quorum on the video. So all in favor? Show of hands.
Okay. Ms. Motzinger?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer, Andrea Bramer,
Yes.
and Board Member Burke. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the public comments on agenda items. So we have a green X, and so as you come up, just stand on that X to speak. So I will say that. And at this time, we will hear public comments on the agenda items only. Please know that we reserve this time tonight for our agenda items only. Direct your comments to me as the chair. And know that although we will not directly comment to you as board members, we receive your comments, and as appropriate, district folk will contact you or help you tonight. We do ask that you be respectful and kind, and know that we cannot talk about sensitive and private student or personnel information in this setting. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and if you need more to share, you are welcome to email us or give us a call. At this time, I will have Mr. Allen Daniel come forward.
Good evening.
Good
Chair
evening.
Woodbury, members of the board, Dr. Hairston.
Good evening.
As this board was sworn in, you promised transparency and accountability. In November 2019, this board said top priority was pay increases for all employees. As the push for the quarter-cent sales tax increase began, it was stated that all employees would be included and that every teacher would get a $2,000 to $3,000 increase. Shortly afterward, it was divulged that classified would be left out again. But they were assured a classified increase was top priority. Somehow, between then and now, a lot of other priorities replaced classified pay. First, it was security associates to the tune of millions of dollars. Then there was replacing Power School. Then there was replacing curriculum, again, to the tune of millions of dollars. Then there were hotspots. I understand hotspots are necessary in the situation, but school can be conducted without hotspots. School cannot be conducted without classified. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, came $20,000 to $30,000 pay increases for the highest paid employees in the district. How did the board muster the audacity to allow that slide to see the light of day? How dare anyone in this district suggest that anyone making more than $100,000 deserved a raise that exceeds the annual pay of our lowest paid workers? Now tonight, it is revealed that the $2,000 to $3,000 increase actually is only $1,285. And instead of a pay increase, classified gets a $350 bonus. The presentation says a curriculum committee will be established between September and December of 2020. What happened to that 2019 promise in November to make classified pay top priority? Then, in February 2021, a pay recommendation will be made. How is it that executive pay that was never publicly discussed jumped to the top? But we've been talking about classified pay for 10 years. 10 years. Do you understand the slap in the face that was to every cafeteria worker, every bus driver, every TA? Do you understand that? When classified pay was supposed to be priority for the year. As I say, in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, priorities are things we talk a lot about and never do anything about. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Joshua Ziesel.
Good evening, Chair Woodbury, Vice Chair Calvert Hayes, board members, both here and virtual, and Dr. Hairston. It's good to see you all again after a long time. It really feels like I'm back at home. I wanted to also speak about the salary schedule. And I admittedly have 3 kids. I've had a lot of other things going on in my life over the past few months, understandably, and so I haven't necessarily been following this issue that closely, I will admit. But one thing I do think that is important to keep in mind is that I don't know how you go about, I mean, everyone deserves more money. That is 100% true, both classified and unclassified employees. I also think it is important to figure out a way to, I think we do have to think about salaries, not just in the context of our local system, but just in terms of the other school systems in our region, and just thinking about the importance of being able to recruit and retain talent. I know that it is, and I don't want to be quoted in the paper as saying this, but like I know that the idea of giving people who have a lot of money even more money, that's definitely not great. But I do think that something has to be done to be able to make our salaries competitive with other districts. And I think that goes at the executive level, also goes at the teacher level. So there's lots of ways that needs to be addressed. I hope to learn more about that tonight as you all discuss that. But I do think that as you are thinking about how to reorganize pay structures, I'm really hoping that you're keeping in mind just making our school district more competitive with surrounding school districts as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next item on our agenda is the discussion items, and our first discussion item is the 2021 maintenance and capital projects funded by the 2016 bond package by Brent Teague.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Harrison, Board.
Good evening.
So this is our capital spending plan. We've got actually 2 different bonds. This is the 2020 2/3 bond. It's part of a 10-year capital plan that we have. The projects are approved in 2-year segments. We get roughly $4.5 million a year for that. The projects are put together from historical data from our work order system, from life cycle replacement, and that type of thing. So that's that. We'll go straight to the So this is the 2/3 bonds. The projects are, again, $8.5 million. And the projects are east on the roof, the Glen, replace the boilers, Main Street Academy roofs, downtown school replace the HVAC units, ERV on the Reagan Gym, and South Fork, replace cooling tower. The next is, what we're doing is installing the bipolar ionization in these rooms, in these schools, and primarily this is a new, well, it's not new technology where a lot of people are just starting to use it, but basically it sterilizes the air anytime the air handler is running. The reason these schools were chosen is because they're some of our oldest schools and they do not have outdoor air coming into them. The other ones will be putting in our isolation rooms to deal with possible COVID folks. So that's, we're excited about that. Hopefully we'll be pushing that out to all of our schools as money allows. So you got emergency repair to mechanical systems, cash, Hall Woodward replace fire alarm systems, Cook, kitchen renovation, Glen boiler replacements, Kimberly Park restroom renovations. And we have emergency repairs to boilers and replacements. The design fees are basically set aside to design all these projects through CES mainly and other architects and engineers. So we'll be working on the tracks at Parkland West and Atkins, Reagan, paving several projects there. And that's basically the 2/3 bond works out to $8.5 million. So there's another capital outlay fund. It's $1.735 million. That's used. Some of it is set aside for athletics. Each high school gets $18,000 a year to help with their athletic needs. The rest of it is set aside for our mobiles, our modulars, when we move them, when we have to make repairs on them. It's also used for emergency projects. Basically, you know, the county's been pretty good to us with the funding that we receive, but yet we still have a list of 59 million of unfunded needs. And that's just with equipment. So is there any questions about the 2/3 bond? Yes, ma'am.
I have one question. When we look at the cost up here that is in the last column, is that, who sets that cost? Is that a cost that has been bid out, or is that something that we set in our school system? Who sets that cost?
So basically, those are the funds that are allocated to the school system from the county.
Okay, so does the county set the price for that, or is that a certain amount of money and we break it down to allocate where we feel like we need those projects, and who sets the cost for that?
So the costs for the projects are estimated, and they're estimated, you know, this, like I said, this is a 10-year plan, so a lot of times the costs are estimated early on, and inflation gets a hold of them, so it's just difficult to do that. What we try to do is we fit as many projects in that year or to 2 years that we can with the money that we're allocated from the county.
So am I assuming wrong that we could come in higher or lower on these?
Yes, ma'am. So what we do is any savings that we have, we either pull the projects forward or we allocate funds towards that $59 million of needs with the other projects. So that's kind of how we work that.
Great. Thank you for explaining that to me. I just wanted to know if it was this a set cost or if there was some savings maybe in some of this that maybe we could come in a lesser cost than what we're showing right now.
Yes.
Okay.
At times we do have savings. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question too. Looking at that 500,000 for, looked like it was supposedly about air quality and for those isolation rooms. Was there any chance, given that we have almost 60 million in a backlog of maintenance needs, was there any chance that that 500,000 could be, that we could use COVID dollars, since that looks like the impetus for putting these in? I don't believe these were on this 10-year list prior to COVID.
No, you're right.
So is that a possibility?
We would have to ask, our CFO will be here momentarily,
Okay,
so we can ask her, and I can email her and find out, but she'll be in to present
Okay.
momentarily.
okay, thank you.
If there are no more questions, then Mr. Teague, you're going to stay on to discuss the 2020-2022 two-third bond capital project spending plan too?
So I might have jumped ahead. So that was the two-third bond that we just discussed.
Yeah.
What we'll move to is the 2016.
Okay.
So this is part of the 2016 bond. We were allocated $29.4 million to capital projects to replace equipment and anything the building envelope needed. This money was set aside because we were never fully funded in our 10-year plan. So they set the 29.4 aside so we could kind of get caught up. So that's what these funds are. And these are the projects: Carver, control system, east, a roof replacement; Clemens Elementary, replace electric boiler and pumps; North Forsyth, replace exterior lighting; South Fork, upgrade lighting in main building; West Forsyth, replace HVAC in the 900 building, and the kitchen replacement, renovation. So any questions with that?
So, Mr. Teague, when you mentioned that we weren't fully funded in our 2/3 maintenance, so what you went over earlier, that was $8.5 million for 2 years. But was that plan, the big 10-year plan, was that based on $8.5 million every 2 years, or was that based on $8.5 million every year?
So it was based on 8.5 every year, and basically it was cut in half.
Okay, so that's the reason of such the backlog, because really we did the plan thinking we were going to receive funding at $8.5 million every year, and then the 10-year plan basically was cut in half. So a 10-year plan is at best 20 or longer.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I think Ms. Burke has a question. Ms. Burke?
Yes, I wanted to ask, I know that we have been discussing a Brunson-Cook merger, and I noticed, part of this recommendation includes $850,000 for, Cook. I think it said, kitchen renovation. If that merger takes place, how will this savings be handled?
We would definitely come back to the board. If it's decided that the merger will take place and the building is replaced, then obviously we won't do the kitchen. We would come back to the board and suggest another project take that place. This would also have to go back to the county as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teague.
Thank you.
Next, we have policy 4141 for the year 2021, compensation recommendations by our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Andrea Gillis.
Chair Woodbury, as she approaches the podium, I did want to mention that as she presents, we made a couple of adjustments, and in the original presentation had no intention of pointing fingers at people. We were very excited about the opportunity to partner and to have the support of our county commissioners with the quarter penny sales tax. It ended up being a very, very successful component for our teachers, and we are glad to say that we're committed to the $2,000 supplement, which places our teachers at a higher level compared to other districts. And we're going to continue to work on those other challenges that exist with classified pay. We know that everyone felt, just overwhelmed by the possible impact of COVID. And we were excited that the $11 million, which was distributed to the district, was done in good faith, and in faith that the economy would recover to some degree, and we would have those dollars. And originally, we certainly did look for $13 million, but we know that things, that just didn't happen. And we are comfortable with the fact that we were able to have our county commission in good faith give us as many dollars as possible. So I do want to make sure that everyone knows that they took a chance, that they didn't have to, take that chance in forwarding those dollars to us, and we're very happy. And certainly want our classified employees to know that we are working diligently on the timeline, and we're committed to addressing those needs as quickly as possible. And so the presentation by Ms. Gillis does represent that.
Good evening, Dr. Hairston, Chair Woodbury, and board members. I'm going to present to you today the Policy 4141 salary recommendations for 2021. So teachers and certified support personnel, per the Senate Bill 818, will receive a one-step increase for the fiscal year 2021. The criteria is that they must work at least 120 days in 1920 school year. If the teacher does not meet that criteria, they will remain on the 1920 state rate. Locally paid teachers and certified support personnel receive the same step increase as state paid teachers. That was included in our budget request. This increase is effective July 1 and has been paid in the July and August paychecks. Certified support personnel include instructional coordinators, social workers, instructional coaches, EC audiologists, EC speech and language pathologists, educational diagnosticians, instructional facilitators, media coordinators, school counselors, school nurses, and school psychologists. All school-based teachers and certified instructional support personnel will receive a lump sum bonus of $350 by October 31st of 2020. This is also per State Bill 818 and will be funded from the state dollars. The criteria is that they must be employed in the above roles as of October 1st, 2020, and this bonus is not considered compensation for retirement purposes. Teachers and certified support personnel local supplement will be distributed with the $11 million that in revenue pursuant to the 1/4 or the quarter-cent county sales and use tax, which is known as Article 46. The proposed changes to Policy 4141 are as follows. Teachers and certified support personnel salary schedules will be comprised of 3 components: their state rate, the local supplement, and then the local Article 46 supplement, which is the quarter-cent sales tax supplement. The local Article 46 supplement, based on the sales tax increase, could fluctuate from year to year based on the amount of sales tax revenue collected. Therefore, the local Article 46 supplement will be adjusted up or down and allocated to reflect the total revenue collected. We recommend an across-the-board increase to ensure all applicable employees receive a $2,000 increase over what was awarded by local government in 2019. Included in this $2,000 is the $715 increase given by local government in 1920. In future years, if sales tax revenue increases, the additional revenue can be used to provide a graduated schedule to address local supplements in priority order for beginning, mid-range, and veteran level certified staff. We are recommending also to move to a single local supplement table as reflected by the current one used for those hired before 2010. Classified salaries. We are recommending we give a one-time lump sum bonus of 3% to be paid by November 30th, 2020, with a cost of approximately $3 million. This bonus will be funded with one-time savings due to school closure. As recommended by the compensation study, an ongoing review of classified salary schedules will be part of the future year's budget process, and salary schedules will be adjusted pending LEA funding. There is a timeline for the classified salary study. The study that was done in the spring, we're now going to implement those plans. So from September through December of 2020, we're going to establish a compensation committee. In November, we'll begin our fiscal year 21-22 budget process. We'll also pay out the 3% one-time classified bonus in November. In December, we'll begin, the compensation committee will begin reviewing new salary schedule options. In February 2021, we will present the new proposed salary schedule to the Board of Education for approval. In March of 2021, we'll begin an analysis of current salaries versus the new salary schedules for groups of employees and begin monthly reports to the board on the progress of the salary study. Principal salaries per State Bill 818 and Senate Bill 818 and House Bill 1105. There will be no changes to Policy 4141. The North Carolina General Assembly did not change the principal schedules for 2021 school year. Principals will not see a change in pay in July, and principals who received a bonus in October 2019 will receive that same bonus they did in 2019. In January, principal pay will not change for ADM due to hold harmless legislation unless a principal has changed schools since the prior year. Principal pay for ADM will be based on the 2019-20 enrollment. And the criteria for principal bonuses will be that they are employed as a principal as of October 1st, 2020. For assistant principals, per Senate Bill 818, there's also no change to Policy 4141. They will receive a step increase for the 2021 school year. The local supplement schedules will increase based on the changes to the teacher local supplement schedules. And as recommended by the comp study, school admin pay schedules will be reviewed during the 21-22 budget process. And like the other raises, the APs must work at least 120 days in 2019-20 school year. If they do not meet that criteria, they'll stay on the 19-20 state rate. And that is the end of the presentation. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. The county commissioners, whenever they, I think we've done better with both sales tax as well as with taxes in general. And so they may actually end up with some more money than what we were projected to receive and what we were budgeted. And they had said in that time, I do believe, that they would revisit mid-year to see where we stood with revenues. So I think that's something that we can think positively about, and for all this future study that we're going to do. Like I said earlier when we discussed this in the committee meeting, I do think that we need to, when that money, if we do get some additional money, that we need to discuss that, and we also need to look at all of our compensation, how we compensate classified first, and we need to really look at that. We got a market study last February where we can see where we are exactly with all of our classified pay, where we are in comparison to other districts. And so I think that's a good starting point for us to look at that, figure out where we need to make adjustments, as well as for us to look at our certified staff as well. I think we have that information there. And I think that is definitely what we need to do. We've got places that we need to adjust in both schedules, drastically adjust in some. And so I just, I put that out there. I just think that we have the possibility of receiving some more money than what we thought we would. And we need to think positively and really start to do this, because this has got to be a priority for what we do. I think we've thrown, I'm glad that we had a little money that we could give our staff, but we've got to get this in line and figure out how we, as a system, can be competitive, and how we can also compensate and reward our staff for the hard work and good job that they do every day. So just putting that out there, because I think that the commissioners, the formula is another thing, I think.
that we need to speak about. The commissioners, we had a formula committee a few years ago. I think that maybe needs to be looked at again on how the formula works and tweak that. It's been around for a while, and we just need to look at that. I will tell you, as a board member, when we didn't have a formula, the formula is a good thing. We don't go begging every year. There's not as many unknowns when you have a formula. Yeah, you know exactly what you're working with or thereabouts, and you go from there. So I think that there's ways that we can tweak that, and we can work positively with the county commissioners and the county manager, and we can look at some of those things. But I think it's time for us to think long and hard about our funding and where that's going, and looking at our staff and their pay scales. So, but I look forward to hearing that county commissioners will be able to give us a little bit more money, hopefully, when they relook at that, when they know what their compensation is. And I think that we've had a real positive relationship, and I think that I hope that will continue, and that we'll get some good news from them about some extra funds, so we can start to know what we're going to be dealing with.
I do have a comment around, I think we, as a board, before Dr. Harrison came on board, talked with the county commissioners about thinking about adjusting or even doing away with the formula. And I think Dr. Harrison has said she needed time to really go through the implications of the formula and make a definitive decision with the county commissioners on how to move forward. And so I just want to be on record tonight to request the superintendent to continue to work with the county commissioners to advise us on, as a board, whether to continue with the formula or to use another model based on the apparent needs, particularly around trying to make sure all of our salaries are competitive. And because the supplement is a great determining factor on how we attract teachers and keep teachers here, I think that we just need to have that conversation. So I just wanted to make that point.
So, may I speak for?
Yes.
So last year, we were approached about the new formula, and our CFO came on board in January, and you can imagine we had a budget to get out. And so we did ask Dudley Watts to work with us this year on the formula, because we knew we did not have time to make those adjustments and understand the process totally. The formula did yield fewer dollars for us this year because of projected revenue. But we heard from our county manager recently that, and we actually were supposed to meet this past Monday, and we'll be meeting in October to look at those additional revenues that may have come in that will yield additional dollars. And so if you look at the timeline, go reflect on the timeline for classified, we committed to be honest with you, the salary study, the gentleman doing the salary study recommended we take a few years to look at classified, because classified salaries, we have many salary schedules, and those salary schedules, we've gotten off track a little bit. So what we said was, years won't get it, because we've been talking about this for years. So we put together an accelerated schedule to bring to you all a plan by the 21st of March, or by March, to bring a plan. And that plan will be able to tell you very clearly the cost of implementing the new salary schedule, and that'll be in time for budget, and the timeline for implementing. And then ask you all to consider which group of employees we want to start with so that we start monthly addressing salaries. So we look forward to that. And in the additional dollars, we certainly will not include in our budget this time until we see what this looks like. And then when this plan comes forward, we'll look at trying to use those dollars, hopefully, to start to address some of the classified salaries, because you don't want to, we don't want to approve raises that we can't sustain over the years, which leads to deficit on all those. So we were pleased to hear from our county manager. And partially it goes back to Andre and I being new and having to learn about the salary schedule and dollars that come later in the year that we were not aware of. And so we're excited about that conversation. And I want to address the teacher salary schedule. We were anticipating about $13 million, which would have given us some opportunity to ensure every teacher had a $2,000 supplement, and we could use some graduated schedules in order to recruit some additional teachers. But we found that we just made it there with the $2,000 and recommended that every single teacher who got out there and lobbied for this and supported this receive their $2,000. And so we're hoping that monies, now that we know the cost, the dollars that go above it will be able to give you all a graduated schedule in the future to be sure that we're able to use those recruitment dollars. So that's sort of the plan there. Okay.
Are there any other? Yes. Yes. Board Member Burke has a question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions. The first question, let me go ahead and apologize first if it's already been asked and answered, but did the quarter-cent sales tax replace the formula?
No, the quarter-cent sales tax is in addition to the formula. So those funds are an add-on to our formula.
Okay, and my second question, I know we're talking about the classified employees and how we need to make them a priority. And talking about a timeline of March 2021. And I would just like to make a recommendation that we find a timeline that is in 2020 instead of moving to 2021. And I know that we consistently find some extra savings. And I would like to recommend that all of the extra savings that we find going forward, that we put them aside for the classified employees, kind of to start to build a fund for them so that we can make this raise happen for them sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Ms. Burke, that's what we said we would do. We would take those additional funds and have those aside for our classified. Yes, ma'am.
Did we say in 2020?
The funds probably won't come to us until mid-year, and if they do, then I can assure you, we talked about having a retreat in November, and I would probably like to share with you the classified pay schedules and where the employees are placed on the classified pay schedules. It's going to take about 2 people full-time to work with the committee to get to where we need to be. So I think you probably want to look at the work levels to get these organized before we make that decision. I think that the timeline recommended by our consultant actually went through the payroll files of all employees, and based on where we are, he recommended a few years. And so we have been fortunate enough to reassign staff to work on this project so that we have gotten it down from a few years to perhaps 1 year to bring you a proposal, and then certainly start the process in March for the new budget.
If there are no more
Thank you.
questions, then we'll go to the next action item. Thank you, Ms. Gillis.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is action items. The first action item is to consider approval of the 2021 maintenance and capital projects funded by the 2016 bond package.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any further questions or discussion? All in favor, raise your hand.
Roll call, Ms. Bramer. Board Member Bramer. Board Member Berg.
Yes.
And Board Member Motzinger.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next action item is to consider approval of the 2020-2022 two-third bond capital project spending plan. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Kaplan.
Are there any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Board Member Bramer.
Yes.
Board Member Berg.
Yes.
And Board Member Motzinger.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is to consider approval of policy 4141 for the year 2021 compensation recommendations. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Any further question or discussion? All in favor? Any
Board-
opposed?
Ms. Bramer.
Any
Board Member
opposed?
Bramer.
Yes.
Board Member Berg.
Yes.
And Board Member Motzinger.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is to consider approval for the North Forsyth High School renovation schematic plans. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further question or discussion? All in favor?
Board Member Bramer.
Yes.
Board Member Berg.
Yes.
And Board Member Motzinger.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item is to consider approval of the disposition of surplus property, 13 mobile classroom trailers.
So moved.
Second, but we also missed item E.
Oh.
There were two on there for North Forsyth.
Oh, okay.
Construction manager
Yes,
selection.
okay, well, I'll go back to it.
Okay.
So right now, there's a motion for the disposition of the surplus property. Any other further question or discussion about that? Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
Any
Board Member
opposed?
Bramer.
Yes.
And Board Member Berg.
Yes.
And Board Member Motzinger.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to item E.
Okay.
Thank you, Board Member Crowley. Consider approval for the North Forsyth High School construction manager selection.
So moved.
Approval. Or second.
Any further question or discussion? All in favor? Any
Board-
opposed?
Board Member Bramer.
Yes.
Ms. Berg. Board Member Berg.
Yes.
And Board Member Motzinger.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item is to consider approval of disposition of surplus property, a 1999 Toro 580D mower.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further question or discussion? All in favor?
Board
Any
Member
opposed?
Bramer.
Yes.
Board Member Berg.
Yes.
And Board Member Motzinger.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item is to consider approval of the extension of food service management contract addendum for the summer food service program. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further question or discussion? All in favor?
Board Member
Any
Bramer.
opposed?
Yes.
Board Member Berg.
Yes.
And Board Member Motzinger.
Yes.
The last action item is to consider approval of the, is it pronounced Bayada? Okay, home health care nursing contract.
Move approval.
Second.
Any further question or discussion?
I did have one question
Yes.
about that because it's come up in several emails. And would any of these nurses be dealing with our COVID situation? It looked like it was more general nursing, not necessarily.
Ms. Carlin, these
Yes.
would be for EC services.
For EC services, okay, thank you.
Any further question or discussion? All in favor? Okay, any opposed?
Board Member, Bramer,
Yes.
Board Member Burke,
Yes.
and Board Member Motzinger.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda items. Is there a motion for approval for items A through E?
Motion to approve, Kaplan. Second.
Any question or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
Board Member Bramer,
Yes.
Board Member Burke,
Yes.
and Board Member Motzinger. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is the open to the public comment section. Before we begin the meeting that's open to the public on comments on any item, I would like to end this section of our meeting and say good evening to everyone that's watching on Cable 2. Please know that at this time during public comments, you will direct your comments directly to me as the chair, and know that
Thank you for joining us on your school channel, Cable 2.